Every year, Vegas sets an over-under for every team in baseball, and sometimes they are very, very wrong. Check back next week for the teams that were the biggest disappointments. Today, we're going to look at the 5 teams that were the biggest surprises. Before I rip into Vegas too much, I want to give credit where credit is due. They nailed 2 teams, and I'll highlight one today and the other in next week's video. The Seattle Mariners, projected for 87.5, 188. The Mariners have been very consistent as of late. In 2021 and 2022, they had the exact same record, 90 and 72. They brought back a very similar team to last year, losing Mitch Haniger but bringing on Teoscar Hernandez. To get him, they had to part ways with a very good reliever in Eric Swanson. Still, they had a very good pen. They didn't really get better or worse, so it made sense to have them around the same as the last 2 years. It was a weird path to get there, but honestly, not much different from last year. They were 1 game over 500 at the All-Star break, but they had one of the best months ever in August, going 21-6. They were even in first place for 10 days, but they went 11-17 in September, landing on 88 wins, and missing the playoffs by 1 game. Overall, it was a mediocre season with 1 very good month. Okay, that's enough love for Vegas. Let's get into the biggest overachievers. Number 5, Atlanta Braves, 9.5 games, projected for 94.5, 104. If it wasn't obvious ever since 2018, the Braves have established themselves as a power once again. They've loaded their team, and they've signed most of their guys to long-term deals, so they're ready to repeat their 1990s dynasty, being a lock for the playoffs every year. 94.5 games is a very strong projection, but the Braves trampled all over that. Their pitching wasn't that strong, right in the middle of the National League pack, and their ace Max Fried only putting in half a season. But Spencer Strider avoided a sophomore slump, being a Cy Young candidate for most of the year, leading the world in strikeouts. Charlie Morton was healthy and solid all year. Bryce Elder was an all-star in his first full year, and their bullpen was good even without Tyler Matzek. What drove them to 104 wins was their offense. They scored 947 runs. That was number 1 by a full 41 runs. They hit 307 home runs. The only team that's ever done that in baseball history was the 2019 Twins. Every starter hit at or above league average except for all-star Orlando Arcia, and his OPS plus was 98. Ronald Acuna had the first ever 40-70 season, drove in 106 runs as the leadoff hitter, and Matt Olson led the world with 54 homers and 139 RBI. Marcell Ozuna stunned a lot of people by hitting 40 home runs and driving in 100. Austin Riley and Ozzie Albies also hit over 30 homers. That offense was historically good, and this year they didn't have their typical slow start. They played over 500 every month, and they were obviously baseball's best regular season team. Number 4, Tampa Bay Rays, 10.5 games, projected for 88.5, 199. Ever since 2018, this team has emerged as a serious contender, peaking in 2021 when they won 100 games. Last year, they backed into the playoffs, got swept. Their offense was bottom 3rd in the league, and it looked like they were going in the wrong direction. Vegas gave them a couple more wins compared to last year, but right from the start, you could see there was something special about this team. They won their first 13 games, just blasting everyone, and a lot of people said they were benefiting from an easy schedule. As the season went along, they proved they weren't just good enough to beat the bottom feeders. They played consistently well all season. That is, with the exception of July. They started that month 0-7, only winning 8 of the 24 games. The fact this team ended up with 99 wins is very impressive, considering how beat up they were. Shane McClanahan only made 21 starts and went down for the year. Tyler Glasnow also made 21 starts, missing the first part of the season. Sean Armstrong had a great start and then went down after 39 games. Same with Drew Rasmussen, only making 8 starts. Wander Franco led the team with 5.5 WAR, but he was booted off the roster after 112 games because of some legal problems. Look that up if you want to. This 11th ranked offense from 2022 moved all the way up to 2nd in 2023, getting an MVP caliber season from Yandy Diaz. Great performances from Isaac Paredes, Randy Rosarina, Josh Lowe, and Luke Raley really came out of nowhere. And despite all those injuries, they still had the 3rd best pitching, Zach Eflin being the rock of that rotation. Colin Poche, Jake Diekman, Jason Adam, and Pete Fairbanks leading that amazing bullpen. Number 3, Washington Nationals, 11.5 games, projected for 59.5, 171. They were baseball's worst team in 2022, winning 55 and losing 107, so Vegas was only giving them about 5 more wins, still handing them over 100 losses. That's a low bar to clear, and during the first half of the season, it looked like they were right on track, 18 games under 500 at the All-Star break. But as happens with young teams, they started playing better in the second half. They were 20 games under 500 on July 19th. and on August 29th, they were only 9 below. That tied them with the Padres, and they were only 7.5 back of a wildcard spot. You would hope a young team on the rise would continue to rise, but they played 10 games under 500 in September, undoing all their progress in August. They finished 20 games under 500, but only 2 games under in the second half. Josiah Gray looks like he could be their ace of the future, even though there was only one team that had worse pitching in the National League, and their offense was also bottom third. But CJ Abrams stole 47 bases. Lane Thomas showed a good combination of power and speed. Joey Meneses was a rock in that lineup. This team does seem like they're on the upswing, and could be someone to watch for a sneaky wildcard run in 2024. Number 2. Cincinnati Reds, 16.5 games, projected for 65.5, 182. This is a team that shipped off all their best players after the 2021 season. They were kind of the A's before the A's. They had an 83-win season and just missed the playoffs, but they tore it all down and had their second worst season ever, 62-100. Vegas only gave them 65.5, not thinking they were ready at all yet, but the Reds proved them wrong. Through 50 games, they were 21-29, then ran off 5 wins in a row to finish off the month, then exploded in June, winning 12 in a row and finding themselves 6 games over 500 and in first place. No surprise, this run started right after Elly De La Cruz made his major league debut, and he was just one of many young players that made the Reds serious contenders. Matt McLain, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Will Benson, TJ Friedl, and Spencer Steer all came onto the scene and made this a top 5 offense in the National League. Pitching has been a big problem as of late, and sure enough, it was still 3rd worst in the league. Still, they have a young staff. 4 of their guys under 25 in Graham Ashcraft, Brandon Williamson, Hunter Green, and Andrew Abbott. Their bullpen was better, more middle of the pack, led by closer Alexis Diaz. At the end of July, the Reds were 10 games over 500 and in first place, but August wasn't pretty. They lost 6 in a row, ended up 7 games under 500 for the month, and played 500 ball in September, which kept them in the race, but that left them on the outside looking in. Overall, it was an exciting season. The Reds were fun again, and even though they let a wildcard spot slip through their hands, they ended up over 500, 82-80, a far cry from their preseason 65.5 win projection. Number 1. Baltimore Orioles, 24.5 games, projected for 76.5, 101. This team surprised a lot of people, but they were truly shocking last year. It's hard to trick Vegas 2 years in a row in the same direction. Yeah, they were number 1 on this list last year, going from 52 wins in 2021 to 83 wins in 2022. And for some reason, Vegas saw this team that was clearly on the rise and only gave them 76.5. I thought this was clearly too low. I had them in the high 80s, but I never expected them to win over 100. They got a full season out of Gunnar Henderson, and he showed why he was the number 1 prospect in baseball. He hit 28 homers and drove in 82, an 814 OPS. Their offense was evenly spread, getting very good years out of a lot of guys. Adley Rutschman doing a lot of damage, same with Anthony Santander. This turned out to be the 4th best offense in the American League. They also had a top 5 pitching staff. Kyle Bradish coming on as the ace with a 2.83 ERA. And when they had a lead late, Yenier Cano and Felix Bautista locked it down. They were 30-16 in 1-run games, and having those guys in the bullpen was a big reason for it. They led the AL's 3rd best bullpen. They were so consistent all year, settling into 2nd place by mid-April, chasing down the red-hot Rays. And right after the All-Star break, they took 1st place and never let it go, owning at least a piece of it all the way to the end. They were 19 games over 500 in the first half, and 21 games over 500 in the second half. No major swings. They didn't lose more than 4 in a row at any point, and they were pretty much the best team in the American League all year. Vegas will finally have to respect them this coming year, and this team full of young studs has a wide open window to win a lot and for a long time. This was a great rebuild, and Orioles fans will reap the benefits for many years to come. That's all I have for now. Let me know if you have any thoughts on these teams in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the most disappointing teams next week. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and want to see more content like this, please give me a sub. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.